Hello and welcome to Orange Juice, news and notes from around the world of insoles. I am one of your hosts, Owen Kenoy, and this is my co-host, Marcia Kenoy.
Hello.
Today, hi Marcia, how are you?
I'm awesome. 3 cups of
All right,
coffee and I'm feeling good, Owen. There we go.
all right, yeehaw.
Game on.
And we also are going to have our producer, Mallory, yes, Kenoy, joining us. This is a family podcast, so
Hey
say
guys.
hello, Mallory. Hi.
Hi,
Hey.
Mal in Chicago.
Yeah, not with the
Mom misses
Michigan
you.
crew.
Soon. Christmas
All
week.
right. So today's topic is insoles for foot health and also injury prevention. Injury prevention is going to be especially important if you have established some sort of New Year's goals after listening to our last podcast or maybe just on your own. We don't want you to start them, maybe not be prepared, get injured, get hurt, have aches and pains, and not be able to continue. So, with that said, Mallory has a New Year's goal she would like to share that we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so since living in Chicago, I've been getting a lot more steps in. And with that, I really want to try to up my step count overall. I don't have a car. And sometimes it's easy to want to take an Uber or get a ride or take the train when I can walk. So I'm making it a New Year's goal to have 9K steps average for the whole year. So that doesn't necessarily mean I need to do 9K a day, but I also do need to do 9K a day to hit that goal, or if not, exceed it. So the days where I need to rest, I can rest. So yeah, it's a pretty lofty goal, and I thought the team here at Orange Insoles might be able to prepare me a little bit more for what I need to do to make that happen.
Well, I'll say one quick thing is if you visit Mallory in Chicago, I never get less than 18,000 steps. The girl walks everywhere. And I'll be like, shouldn't we take an Uber? And she'll be like, no, it's just a 20-minute walk. I'm like, but it's over a mile. What? So I applaud you. You are, and you go through what's your walking shoe? New Balance Walker?
Yeah, I wear a New Balance walker. Get a few pairs a year.
Crazy. And she shows me the pair. We own a shoe store. I don't know if that we've discussed that, but this is where Orange Insoles started from was Playmakers, a shoe store in Michigan, East Lansing, Michigan. And anyway, so every time I go to visit Mallory, I have to bring her a new pair of shoes from the store because literally the shred is gone on the bottom. So note to self, we need to bring you shoes if this is your goal this year. So, all right, Owen, help your sister out.
All right. Just for reference, Mal, do you know like how many steps you've taken in the past? Is this something you're already doing? Are you close?
Um, so this year I will say it is pretty high. However, if you look at my scale, it took me a while to build up to it. So this year I'm averaging 8,300. However, if you look at the beginning, the first half of the year was like 5,000, 6,000, and then the last few months have been 10,000 per month average. So I am built up. However, I was not always, and I struggled a lot.
Okay, that's actually perfect. So now you're closer to your goal, but if we went back and let's say you're at your 5,000 steps a day, like today, yes, it like you said, it's probably going to be pretty difficult to just overnight start doubling your step total. And there are several reasons. I mean, I think everyone knows that like if you're not used to doing something and try to do it, like you might not be able to just because you're not used to it, right? Like just very broadly. But if we want to actually dive into the science, especially with like running, walking, Mallory, like you were saying, or really just like what you'll see is like picture any activity that you're going to do and you can kind of break it down and just evaluate these risks. So, the first risk, Mallory, that you face with your feet and walking is misalignment or overpronation. So, for the audience, a majority of the population overpronates. What this means is as you're walking and you toe off from heel to toe, your foot is actually going to bottom out and roll in. And I'm using my hand models. I don't know if this will be good for those on YouTube, but um, literally, like your foot starts to roll in. This happens a lot if you have a flat arch, or maybe your arches just aren't able to support you for whatever reason because of the anatomy of your foot. So again, a majority of people overpronate.
Kenoi flat arch. So, that's a problem for me.
Okay, yeah. So Mallory has flat feet. She's going to be naturally rolling in on her feet. And as she does that over thousands of steps, like we just talked about, her body is overcompensating for that rolling in. So, what could happen, just on a general basis, is Mallory's foot starts to roll in. And now, with that, her ankle is starting to turn in because her foot is bottoming out, and her ankle is naturally going to follow that. Her ankle's turning in, so now her knee is going to have to start rotating in as well, because your body's a chain. Your knee follows your ankle, which follows your foot. So now your knee starts rotating in, and what happens to your hip? Your hip dips. Your hip starts to rotate in as well. And all of this is unnecessary stress, and it's not a natural or, I guess, efficient motion on your body. Your hip starts to dip in, and then now your lower back hurts because you're really overcompensating with your hip. So it could be anywhere along the chain where you could be experiencing these issues. So now, what could happen is you could even take your 9,000 steps, hit your goal, have your feet feel okay, but maybe your knees are just killing you, or your hips are killing you, or just all of a sudden your lower back just really hurts. And a lot of the time, that's because of the misalignment or the overpronation with your feet. So to give you an example, separate from your goal, Mallory, but one that is relevant to me, I have my 1 year old Harper, and I take care of her around the house. And I usually don't wear shoes in the house, uh, because really I don't do that much. Like, yeah, I'll do chores or whatever, but like I'm sitting at my desk, I'm working, maybe I'm watching a show. Like at home, I'm just kind of like relaxing. That's my relax spot. But once she comes, she's playing. We're running around. I'm not wearing shoes. Do my feet hurt? No. But all of a sudden, when I bend over to pick her up, my back is just killing me. Lower back. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is this? It's because I'm standing on hard floors for most of the day. And it's just putting that repetitive stress on your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, and then ultimately your lower back. So that's where I ended up feeling the pain with that.
You pointed out that I've learned over time, and I think is just important to point out that a lot of people don't understand is like a lot of lower back pain does come from your hips and bottom up. I think a lot of people think it is literally their back that is what is the issue. I know that's like such a random point, but like I do think it's really important to point out a lot of this lower back pain we experience does come from our hips. Because I think we miss it a lot and don't realize like literally something like putting in an insole and like having supportive shoes and those things can fix it when we think it's coming from something else.
That's exactly what I was gonna pop in and say is we'll talk to people at the store and customers come in. It's like, I have back pain, hip pain, all of this. And I'm told an insole or a good shoe can fix that. How is that possible? And it's exactly what Owen said. It's the ground up, getting your base right, your foundation right, just like you would do on a building in a house. You get the foundation right and the rest builds up from there. So I know Owen's going to elaborate on that when he gets to a good shoe and an insole. And I think, one thing we're proud of at Orange Insoles is our deep heel cup, which Owen will get into, that is different than other brands. And that's locking in your heel and giving your body that alignment. We believe in that deep heel cup to help that. So, but yeah, Mallory, I was just thinking the same thing. It's like hip pain, back pain. It's like, I'm sure if you're listening to this for the first time going, how is the bottom of your foot, what Owen's saying with pronation, have anything to do with that? And it's a big aha for me. When I started in the industry, I couldn't believe it either. But that's where we get excited that Orange Insoles can help you reach these goals in a healthy, safe, pain-free way. And our tagline is feel better, do more, because we believe in that. If you get this right, you can do more. more steps, more lifting your child, more all of it. So, but I'll tee it back up to you, Owen. But yeah, good point, Mal. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so I was doing a really good job of painting the picture of the pain and the misalignment, and you guys, cats out of the bag, kind of went right to the solution, which is the insoles, orange insoles, obviously. But
Out of the bag.
there's still that question as to how the insoles help, or like, okay, so I put these in my shoes, and now I'm just not gonna roll in anymore. How does that work? So our insoles specifically, there are a variety of them as far as construction, but they feature a sturdy, rigid, emphasis on rigid, arch. So if you were to look at the insole, and obviously you can pull them up and check them out, but they're going to have a contour in the medial arch, which is the inside of your foot. Uh, and that contour is actually formed by a plastic shank. So as your foot goes to roll in, the plastic shank is going to really hold place and keep it from going in. Perfect example right there. You can see that natural arch shape. Your foot does sit down in the insole as well with the deep heel cup. So the deep heel cup was what Marsha was talking about. Many insoles admittedly do have the rigid arch support, but ours uniquely have the deep heel cup. And this is what a lot of podiatrists, physical therapists, and medical professionals like, and why they recommend our product. The deep heel cup just helps keep your foot on that plane or on the base of your shoe, so that again, you're not overpronating or rolling off of the shoe, and forming a strong foundation for your feet. So that is generally how our insoles are going to help protect your foot from misalignment. Um, Building on that, Mal, uh, shock absorption is another key to your goal, your step goal. So let's say your favorite pair of shoes is like some cute flats or even high heels that you love. Um, you're gonna be experiencing a lot of pounding on the ground as you're walking, and putting a lot of additional force and stress on your bones and your joints. That's an extreme example, but everyone knows the shoes that you just kind of grab because they look cute or they're easy to put on or whatever, but they're
Well,
flimsy and they
and
don't have
again, I live
support.
in the city. I'm probably walking to the clubs and go when I go out. So that it is actually more realistic that we are doing quite a lot of steps in the heels in those kinds of like the cuter shoes. So it definitely needs some shock absorption.
Yeah, so that is where the insoles can also come into play. So I was talking about the rigid arch and the plastic shank, but what goes over the rigid arch and plastic shank is a layer of EVA foam. So if you do push on our insoles, they feel soft and kind of squishy at first, and then as you push down more, you start to feel that plastic shank. But what that foam is doing is actually absorbing 50% of the shock you're experiencing with each step. And then it is returning 50% of the energy as well. But that's obviously going to help reduce the amount of total stress, wear and tear you're putting on your feet. Um, Also, the uh, insoles will help with the overpronation and misalignment. So it all works together for that. Now, I know we mentioned high heels. Maybe that wasn't the absolute best example for the orange full length insole, which we were just talking about. Orange full length insole is going to fit into like your everyday footwear. So if you have like a tennis shoe or like a casual slip on shoe or something like that with a removable liner, that would be the best solution. But even just keeping, like, we have a product, it's called Orange Light. Even keeping something like that in your shoes is going to help, especially with the misalignment portion of that.
Okay, oh, and so I use my New Balance walkers a lot. So then would you suggest a full length in those?
Can you reach into your shoe and pull out the liner in the bottom of the footbed?
Yes, I can.
Okay. then yes, you'd want the orange full length insole. If you reach in and you cannot pull out the liner, it's stuck to the bottom, or there just isn't like another layer to pull out, then you would want the orange 3/4 length insole. This is because it doesn't take up as much space in the forefoot, and that way your foot's not going to be crammed into a shoe that might not have the space to accommodate the full length insole. We do
Well,
also have the only other one we have right now is the orange light insole, and that will fit into any pair of shoes. So we're talking about high heels, flats. It'll fit into cleats, sporting or athletic footwear, just about anything. So the idea with that is you can at least get some support in shoes that really you probably shouldn't be wearing for any length of time anyway, but you're making that choice too.
That's
Um, so the last factor, Mal, to consider for injury prevention with your goal is muscle fatigue. So just because you feel good on step one through 1,000 doesn't mean you're going to feel the same way, on steps 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Sorry, we're going all the way up to 9,000 now, 8,000 and 9,000. So your muscles get tired. Everyone knows this, right? Like if you're doing exercises or lifting, like you can't just stay at the same pace forever. You start to feel that fatigue, and that's where uh, your foot, in this case, can start to rely on the insoles. So the muscles start to get tired. You start rolling in on your foot or overpronating again because you've been walking for thousands and thousands of steps. But that strong foundation, the arch support, and the deep heel cup is going to keep you in alignment and just help prevent the aches and pains that add up over the course of your activity.
yeah, one thing I love too, Mal, you were bringing it up like in city life. You're on the move. A lot of people don't own cars in the city. They are doing all the stepping. But I'm going to the club. I'm going to wear that hat, or even the cute flats, very trendy right now. And I'm hauling out. And I think that's one thing that's, the good thing with orange insoles, like Owen said, you reach into your shoe. If your sock liner, we call it a sock liner, that thin material can't pull out. That's why the full length can, if it pulls out, or you replace it with the full length. If it doesn't pull out, that's why we created the 3/4. It just goes right over the top of that liner that won't come out. And the reason we create the 3/4 is it's a thinner profile because we know that liner isn't going to come out. So we know there's already a layer of material in there. So by putting this thinner profile over, it won't cause and take a lot of volume up in your shoe, but you still are going to get that support. And then the orange light, like Owen was mentioning, I love it because you can put it in the Mary Jane shoe and you've got a little bit of support in there, but it just has that deep heel cup that locks your foot back. And that really, especially in a high heel, ladies, it will get you till midnight because that orange insole pulls back the pressure in that high heel on your forefront. And I tell you what, it can carry a couple more hours, but it won't carry you all through the night. I mean, we all know high heels just about kill you.
I was just gonna say, and I know we're using my city life as an example, but I can definitely see that applying to like teachers and nurses and Amazon workers, and not you don't necessarily need to live in a city to be on your feet all day. So it is kind of cool to see how it can apply to like a lot of different people who are really active on their feet, even because sometimes we don't realize how much we're moving because it's just part of our day to day.
You're the kind of city girl example, but one of our best segments, or people who appreciate our product the most, truly are people who put them in their work boots. So manual labor, blue collar workers who naturally have to be on their feet all day to perform those skills really appreciate having that extra support for those three reasons: the misalignment that happens to help absorb shock, and then finally the muscle fatigue that they start to experience. So as a way to maybe bring this all together, there's a very easy way to just stop and think about, are you properly supporting your feet? Are you taking care of yourself? And this is what I do. So, first step, just ask yourself, what is the activity I'm doing? Are you going to be going to dinner where you're getting dropped off at the door and then you're going to go sit down and then you're going to get in the car and go home? Are you working all day? Are you running? What is it you're doing? Then ask yourself, when I'm doing this, do my feet, ankles, knees, hips, or back start to hurt either during that activity or after? Are you in pain? For me, like one thing that comes to mind is like when I dress up and wear dress shoes, I'm like, my feet are gonna hurt. That's for sure. So if the answer is no, or if the answer is no, I'm not gonna be in pain, or I'm not normally in pain. Uh, okay, like you're probably not having this thought process anyway. And then what you're gonna ask yourself is, what shoes am I wearing? Uh, so, um, let's say, for example, last night we went and saw like a light show at a garden. So it's just like a big outdoor event, and you walk through and did that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, I want to wear my casual boots. My feet sometimes hurt when I wear them. Uh, and then they didn't have a removable liner either. So what I did was I said, okay, I think my orange insoles can help. The 3/4 length insole because it fits best in my shoe, and because when I do that activity, normally my feet start to hurt if I'm wearing these casual boots and trying to walk around outside for an hour or 2 hours at a time. So you should be able to take that and apply it to just about anything. So again, what is my activity? What footwear am I wearing during that activity? Do I normally feel aches and pains? And if so, what insole can I add to my shoes?
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good strategy that I'll use going forward.
All great information. And then, as we said before, we're a Michigan-based company. A lot of our major customers are from the Midwest, and we're all going through that winter wonderland right now. So, on our next podcast, we're going to talk about, how do you get out and about in the wintertime? What activities could you do? And then what things, again, what injuries kind of to watch out for. So get out there and get moving. And we will be talking about common winter injuries and activities, the good part, on our next podcast.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you can take this information and make that next activity just a little more enjoyable, a little more pain free. So thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.